gonna see who the first one is, because I'm curious.
Aren't I just the best? Aren't I just the best?
Will it be Emre?
Aren't I just the best?
But yeah, I'm probably not gonna be playing today, or at least not right now. But I do want to discuss the state of the meta game
I don't know what.
specifically, and like possibly like counter options
Nice.
to the meta game, and also introduce some new concepts to the community possibly that I don't think most people don't really think about.
Nice.
So I have a background in fighting games. Like I play a lot of Smash, and I also used to play a lot of Street Fighter back in the day. So, and there's this concept called yomi, which was detailed by David Sirlin in this which is a fighting game developer. In his articles about playing to win. And pretty much it can be divided into layers, right? So it's basically a flow chart, and it's all about predicting like how your opponent will react to certain options, and then just go from there. So you start kind of like just branch out. And I can like provide an example. So take for example, yeah, let's take Rebecca's floater, because I want to talk about this. Let's take Rebecca's floater as an example, because I feel like she's a very good anti-meta character right now. If you build her properly, but most people probably won't. But it's worth discussing nonetheless. So the layers are built upon like your strongest strategy, like your most consistent way that requires like the most respect, right? So in this case, this will be Rebecca's floater will be her layer 0, where everything is based around. Her floater requires like a very specific counterplay. Like your opponent will have to stay super close in range all the time to be in order to block this, and that's pretty much their response, or their layer 0 to your layer 0, right? So how do you beat this? You just add a layer 1. So layer 1 to beating their layer 0 is simply a regular layup. Because they will have to immediately react and jump very close. And the layup requires you to be here to actually block it. They're put in a 50-50 where they have to either commit to jumping here and pretty much be here, like in front of her at all times, or they'll have to commit to not jumping and run immediately to jump here instead. Now you can add more layers to this. So for example, so you're forcing them to like respect this range and also this range if you stand here. So now they have to stand here and respect the floater, your layer 0, and they have to anticipate that you might be able to lay up here, right? But what if you just do this? Jump, run back and shoot a mid-range. Now all of a sudden they also have to anticipate this range. And that's pretty much and that's three options they have to be aware of. And counterplay. And the counterplays you pretty much have to be aware of. Now you can even add like branches to your layups or layers as I mentioned. For instance, for instance, um, yeah, say you go for this layup,
Thanks, y'all.
and say you're against a Murdoch specifically. Like Murdoch's counterplay, Murdoch has probably the strongest counterplay to this strategy specifically, because his shadow block will always trigger on layups, right? Unless they lay a pass or double clutch, but that's another story.
That was Andy, huh?
So say they do shadow block here, and you lay a pass. All of a sudden, Murdoch is just jumping empty here. Rebecca is all over here, and she gets to get the pass back here, and she's open for a mid range or even a new floater. And that's just that's a new layer to your first layer, right? Which is your layer 1. And that's pretty much the concept of yomi. But yeah, let's discuss the state of the meta right now. So I'd say the top 4 characters, it's definitely Deacon, it's Jack, it's Murloc, and Pedro. And why do I say that? Because pretty much right now they have extremely good defensive tools that pretty much renders most offense useless or very inconsistent. Like this game is not really built for defense. It's pretty much built to offer, like, give offense a advantage. So most characters are really bad at defending. But these characters kind of cheat that by having extremely strong tools in specific options that just shuts down characters really consistent, making it hard to conduct like any kind of offense at all. So the majority of characters are pretty much useless if there's a lineup that consists of all of these characters, right? Like pretty much any combination of this. Like if you have a Deacon, Murdoch, and Jack, you pretty much are able to shut down 99% of the meta game, and that's why they're so strong. But there are definitely options to beat this, right? But for one, let's go back to Rebecca. As I mentioned earlier, her Yomi is very strong against Murdoch. Like she has options to beat his shadow block. She has options to that forces him to play at a specific range, and pretty much she dictates her offense and his defense.
Nice.
And she can score very consistently against them. She also has tools against Deacon and Pedro, and this thing. She can pretty much stay within layup range at all times without actually being in threat of like being stopped by the tackle or Pedro's steal. And she has very consistent. Like if you do this, it's not consistent right now because I'm not built for this. But if I was built for this, she would be very easy to score with.
Awesome. I don't know what.
So now, right? Say you're against a Pedro, a Jack, and a Deacon, or a Murdoch, or Jack and Deacon, whatever the team is. Like all of a sudden, their entire defensive boost is gone. Like,
nice.
She can just do that. However, it also depends on your lineup, right? Like this opens up for like Jack, Saru, Sarin is another one. Sarin is another one. He can receive a pass right here, and his jab step can kill pass. They pretty much shut down all of them. So what's good about the jab step is that as long as you hold jab step, Deacon can't tackle you for one. So he'll just pass through you. Same with Pedro, except you can just dunk through him. He'll need to commit to a jump, and he'll need to be inside paint pretty much, which you can just shoot him mid-range if he's committing to that. Or he can, if he's not in paint, you can also lay up. What makes this so strong is that pretty much the only way to beat this for Pedro is if he has help from like a Murdoch who's already inside paint, right? The reason why that doesn't work is because he has kill pass. So if your teammate is here right here, you just kill pass immediately, and there's no way they can catch up because the pass is so fast. Oh yeah, let's talk about that as well actually. Why Jack is so strong and why he changes the meta. Like previous season you could kind of do a ISO with maybe like Nadia. Like Nadia, there was a lot of like Professor as well. These aren't that strong anymore because he's able to pretty much shut down what the thing that made them good, which is the threat of the mid range. Like that was what people had to resort to pretty much to score against double bigs. And that was quick point mid range. But he's so good at blocking that. And because they don't actually have any tools to like force a true ISO, because their pass is not good. They don't have kill pass. So they kind of need to like play at this range when your teammate is here, and to be able to like give a pass, like a good pass. Otherwise, they can pretty much camp right here, react to the layup, run in. And Nadia specifically, she only has a straight dunk, which actually even a PG and especially Jack can block with very well.
Who can stop me?
And yeah, he pretty much shuts down like him specifically. Like shooting 3 points is not very viable if you have a Jack on the court. And especially if you don't have a Kim, don't run a screenplay. If you just are playing like a left-right face shooter, then you have no hope against Jack. What if you run 2, right? You still might have to face against the Pedro, which pretty much like disincentivizes anyone from holding the ball pretty much. Like the mix-up for Pedro is either you pass immediately or you shoot immediately to avoid a swipe, or you like move slightly away because you anticipate the swipe. But the mix-up for Pedro is you jump anticipating the shot, or you just react it, or you like anticipate that they will move away because they think you'll swipe. So you just like run where you anticipate that they'll move, bump them, and then steal. And that's very strong for Pedro. And that's a very hard to deal with as well. And it's a pretty shitty mix-up for Whereas on offense,
Now we're
because
talking.
you have a very high success or
That's right.
chance of pretty much just losing that interaction, right?
That's right.
Because either you take, even if the Pedro doesn't do anything, like most of the case, most of the time you'll just end up taking a bad shot because you were anticipating a swipe, or you just
That's how
make
we
a
do
bad
it.
pass because you panic. Exact same thing with like Deacon, right? What makes Deacon so strong is obviously his tackle. Like the most obvious counterplay is you just
I always
you just
win.
drive because you can't get tackled while you drive. But the counterplay for Deacon is even easier. Like if he holds the ball and tries to drive, I wait for the drive, see where he ends up, then tackle. And the counterplay to that is to do 2 drives in a row, but how many times have you ever done that? But that's where like these characters come in, like Saru and Rebecca, who actually has tools to deal with this. And they don't even have to deal with Jack's strong block because of their extreme strong yomi around like on the inside. There's another character. There's another character with really strong yomi, which is Jason, surprisingly. So Jason has, in my opinion, the strongest yomi, which is not that, but it's this thing.
Got it now?
The skywalk into double clutch. If you, assuming you actually invest in it, if you just do it like without any investment, I don't think it's very good because
That's
the
what I'm talking
double
about.
clutch is very prone to actually break. But what this pretty much means is when you do this,
Think you can keep
you're
up?
not able to block that unless you're in front of the basket. The second you press double clutch,
Got it now?
you pretty much make make it impossible to block you. So in a true ISO, Jason will always win if he gets the skywalk off.
Did you see that?
So the only counterplay now is to actually very aggressively double. So you will have to have one near the paint at all times, and the other one will have to, or or if it, like the one person guarding you is in the middle, is like in front of paint, you just do this.
Did you see
Easy
that?
threes, right? But this
Did you see
this will
that?
require you to like always double, which is why you need teammates that knows what to do. So if you have a teammate in the corner here, like he'll your the other one guy will probably like try to like bait stand like between you guys, which he has to. But even then you have pretty strong ISO options. Like if you stand here, like I think this is a stronger position to ISO with your teammates right here, because then you have the option to just do like this.
Think you can keep
Well,
up?
not that, but you know, do like this. Oh my god. Could you just go for the layup? Or like even do this.
That's what I'm
This is very
talking
strong.
about.
Because his
That's
range
what
on the
I'm
dunks,
talking
it's
about.
actually insane. And he can always get
Think you can
cancel
keep
into
up?
double clutch. And like he doesn't really need the strongest defensive tools because he has cut in, right? So he does need counter plays for Pedro specifically
Got it now?
because he just needs to cut in, get the pass, then skywalk. And yeah, That's another very strong tool
That's what I'm talking
against
about.
the feared double big meta or triple big, whatever.
Did you see that?
Because that's like one scorer that will enable you to pretty much keep up and pretty much always
Did you see that?
or render their defensive advantage pretty much
Got it now?
insignificant.
That's what
And
I'm
I think
talking
that's
about.
worth pointing out. But like
Got it
the
now?
reason why these characters aren't top tier, right? Like I'd say they're very anti-meta
Got it
for a
now?
reason. Like they're very strong against the best
Think you can
lineups
keep
in the
up?
game, but they don't really
Did you see
give you
that?
much against like random
Did you
lineups,
see
right?
that?
So say you're running Saru, like a lineup of Saru, Rebecca, and Clark, which I would say is a pretty good lineup against like
Did you see
the
that?
meta picks. But all of a sudden, if you're against a Krista, a Helena, a Kim, you're not gaining any advantages on defense,
Think you can keep
and
up?
they just straight up might outscore you on offense because they're running like
Got it
a
now?
proper strategy for
Think you can
getting
keep up?
threes.
Think you can keep up?
But that's kind of like the rock paper scissors
Did you see that?
of the anti-meta, I guess. But I think it's just worth pointing out.
Got it now?
It's a very strong tool. There are very good
That's
options
what I'm
still in the
talking about.
metagame that should be worth pointing out,
Did you see that?
such as Rebecca, such as
Did you see that?
Jason, such as Saru. Oh, and also, but I don't really think they're. Um, you don't necessarily
Aren't
need
I
to run
just
them
the
with like a Murdoch or a Jack, you know. You can pretty much run them
If that wasn't
with any
awesome, I don't
lineup.
know what.
Like I'd even go as far as saying like
Nice.
running Rebecca and Saru together
Thanks, y'all.
is a good idea because then you get to eliminate the strongest, the character with
If
the
that
strongest
wasn't
counter
awesome, I don't know
counter
what.
options against both of them,
Thanks, y'all.
and just let the other one run ISO.
Thanks, y'all.
Because, but no matter what, you're like opening up for characters like
If that wasn't awesome, I don't know what.
Fred, William, Amanda, Nadia even, Cindy, and also Ginger, I'd say. From getting a pretty good ISO all of a
If
sudden,
that wasn't
if you
awesome, I
if
don't
you're
know
like
what.
run this shit with a Jack
If that wasn't
and
awesome, I don't know what.
you know
Thanks, y'all.
Murdoch, like you can't really run a single scorer in this metagame, I feel.
Aren't I just the best?
Unless 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 they do the same.
If that wasn't awesome, I
But
don't know what.
you're always creating like openings in your defense then,
Nice.
and you all of a sudden get very susceptible to like teams running double scorer, which I think is pretty viable under specific certain circumstances. But like running double scorer, it's absolutely
y'all.
trash if you run against the top
Aren't I
four,
just the
right?
best?
But if you run into like a team of two of the top four and a
Aren't I
Rebecca
just the best?
with a double scorer, then all of a sudden you have a very good
Thanks, y'all.
shot, I'd say, at actually scoring and keeping up. Because then you pretty much just have to let
If
whoever
that
has
wasn't
Rebecca
awesome, I don't know
on
what.
on them pretty much ISO.
Aren't I just the best?
And that's kind of how I feel like you should run Clark in this meta.
If that wasn't awesome, I don't know what.
Because like they might even be tempted to put like the Rebecca on the Clark or on the big, but that's gonna be hard if they put it on Clark. Right now I have set up my power forward, so for short distance dunk, like with proper cards, I can show my D thing. So if they actually put like a small on me, I can score very consistently just with short distance dunk. And he also has a tackle build. But yeah, this is what I'm leaning towards right now. I think that's going to be more effective. So that's what I'm gonna run and what I suggest. Is there more? But yeah, that's pretty much my my
Thanks, y'all.
thoughts off the top of my head.
Thanks, y'all.
This shit was not scripted or anything. I just wanted to, you know,
Nice.
collect my thoughts and say
Nice.
what I had on my mind.
Nice.
So for anyone who's
If
gonna
that
stumble
wasn't
upon this,
awesome, I don't know what.
I hope you found it interesting or insightful.
Nice.
Peace.